people get in here, post it, and everything. Okay, doesn't say I'm live yet. But you can still hear me fine, Nate?
Yeah. I was never not able to hear you.
Right. I'm just testing out different stuff. Okay. I'm posting on Facebook.
I made a post through our Facebook page if you want to share it.
Okay. Second to fix that. I don't want. What's up, Fatty Patty? How's it going, man? I don't know why you can't see my screen right now.
Why I can't?
My stream can't. That's what I need.
Yeah, let me
Oh,
get on the
okay.
stream. See how it
Okay.
looks.
Okay. Should be fine now. And present. Okay. Drop the gloves. Yes, sir.
We're live on Twitch.
We are live on Twitch. Is there a way to make your... So, Matthew, before we get started, can you tell me how to make it to where his name pops up on the left side of my screen? Is that in this? Oh, it's in your DC settings. Discord settings, okay. In Discord settings. Overview. Permissions.
Paul, you didn't give me the right
Overlay settings.
Twitch link, bro.
P.O. Parker 1 underscore? I got people in the chat right now.
Yeah, but like the link you sent me didn't have the underscore.
Ouch. That's tough. Did you see what I posted it like everywhere? Lower scroll wheel.
Oh my god.
I don't see where to go for that. Right above your little picture. Oh, okay. Overlay, overlay. Um, Bottom left. Game overlay. It says it's on. Find where it says always on. Huh. It says always on. Did that work? Or no?
What's going on now?
I'm just trying to make it where your name pops up when you're talking. Like it should be saying your name right now. Huh. Either way, we know who you are. So, okay. We should be good to start. Got no clue? Alright, so how you doing, Nate?
Good. We'll cut that first part out.
Yeah. We're currently live with our first episode of the Drop the Gloves podcast. I want to thank Nate for coming on. First off, everybody, I'd like for you guys to tell me how the audio sounds before I continue. Does it sound good, Matthew? Think it sounds fine, Pat? Okay, thanks.
Shout out to Matthew and Pat.
Yeah, thank you guys for instantly hopping in here. It's greatly appreciated. So, getting started a little bit later than originally planned, but that's all right. First off, to preface things, I want to start out by saying if there's any bias that comes in, I'm an Ohio State fan, and Nate, you are. You want to go ahead?
The Bearcats are the best team in the country.
Wow.
And it's pretty much that simple. I'm going to believe that until the last day of the season.
You're going to believe that until the last day of the season.
Absolutely.
How do I put my face cam on here, Matthew? I just had it. So, is there a way to do it or no? Because my face cam's not on my stream. I don't think the Bearcats are the best team, but that's okay.
I don't either. We'll get into that. They're not the best team yet, but
Yet.
they will be. They will be.
This guy says yet.
Just wait on it.
Okay, so next thing I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. Okay. So the first thing that we have here, even though it's kind of annoying me that my face cam can't go on there, we have the top 25 AP rankings. And to start it out, I have the AP rankings on the left side, and then I went ahead and put my top 18 rankings on the right. Nate, if you want to go ahead and fill us in and start out with yours.
With my top 18?
Yeah. Well, you can do 25 if you want, but I have mine on the screen, so.
Yeah, well, 25 to 18, it gets pretty muddy. I mean, it's the beginning of the year. That's kind of a crapshoot. Teams that are all like, we don't really know how good these teams are.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
So at 18, I have Virginia Tech.
Wow, okay.
I just put Wisconsin out of the top 18. I had a hard time keeping them at the same spot after losing.
Yeah. Okay.
UCLA at 17, Coastal Carolina at 16, Texas at 15, USC at 14. I don't think those are
Yeah, mine's pretty similar. I
arguable
don't
or
I don't have
yeah.
Coastal Carolina there. I kind of base my rankings off not what the AP or any of the rankings were like from the first week. So like I'm gonna be changing mine. So like how Wisconsin's 15 on mine. It's not that they aren't getting dropped or anything from where they were. It's more of
Yeah.
I had them higher than that going into this, and that's where they dropped into my
Gotcha.
rankings.
Gotcha. Okay. Um,
13, I
13. I
got
think
Florida. That's what
Florida. I have Florida higher than that.
I guess me and the AP poll agree with Florida at 13. Um,
Uh,
uh,
I think we both agree though on my 13 team as being very overrated. Iowa State.
Iowa State. I got Iowa State at 12, which is a little bit like a lot of people probably disagree. I mean, the AP poll has them at 9, but the biggest thing is I'm just not a believer in the Big 12.
Yeah.
Like I'm struggling to put a team from the Big 12 in there before, they're proven down the line. I mean, the SEC is like the king, and the Big Ten's up there. But like you kind of know who your established teams are, and I don't feel that way about the Big 12, but outside of Oklahoma.
No, and Oklahoma like sometimes has a playoff bid.
Yeah,
you know,
sometimes
like
yeah.
um 12 I have Penn State, and then 11 is where I put Florida.
Okay, so
I
I
have a
went
hard
with
time
Iowa
just
State
saying
12.
Iowa State is better than Florida right now.
That's fair. That's fair. I At this point I have Iowa State 12, Penn State 11, and then Iowa at 10 for me.
I also have Iowa at 10.
Okay, so me, you, and the AP poll all have Iowa at 10.
Yeah, like I said, I struggled to keep him. I struggled to put him in the top 10 after one win,
Yeah.
jumping that much, especially, you know, I don't know. I feel like the game against Iowa State this weekend would have been the game that they would have had to win to be in the top 10. But if you look at how handily they won, like it's just hard to keep them out of the top 10 with how many ranked teams lost.
Right, and I can kind of see where you're definitely coming from with that, but for me, I think it's early enough in the season where the committee can get away with making a 9-10 matchup to kind of sell it more, because if, say, Iowa loses this game, they can put them right back where they were. Like, they have
Right,
plenty
right,
of
and
weeks to
then
correct their
nothing
mistakes.
changes.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
if they're going to keep on hyping up this game, 9 versus 10 will sell a lot more.
yeah.
So, outside of that, number 9, I got Oregon, which I had
Also have
Oregon
Oregon at 9.
I had Oregon a little bit higher going into this week before their game against Fresno. That's why I have them at 9. The AP poll has them at 12, but I have them at 9 because I still think this is a really good football team. But I struggle putting the teams below them. Like, I can't really look at teams below them and say I confidently think they'll beat them.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's where I have a lot of the issues with, you know,
yeah. It's such a crapshoot right now. Like there's so much unknown about every team that's not, you know, even 3 through 5. Like
right.
it's so unknown.
So at 9, I had Oregon just like you did. What if Oregon loses this week? How far do you drop them? Because you know that they played a tight game with Fresno, and then say they lose to Ohio State. Where do you drop
Like
them?
I said, we talked about this earlier. And I think Oregon, if they lose this weekend, but it's not over in the second quarter, um, you don't drop them.
You don't drop them. Yeah, I mean,
You
I can see a little bit of a drop. It can if the teams behind them win.
They drop no further than 10th, no further than 10th, only because they lose, and
I can see that.
they'll go to 10th because if Iowa beats Iowa State, they'll be on a win, and they're gonna want to put Iowa up to 9.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the games this week are still super early in the season to where it's like a lot of the teams aren't playing big games, so there's only a select few per weekend. Um, but I also struggle with the team here. Well, say Oregon loses Saturday, they're ranked 12 in the AP poll. How low are they going to drop? I mean, that's a decent spot for them because I think that we all know the AP poll and the ESPN poll for the playoffs favor the SEC. So with Florida right under them, I think that they'll definitely get dropped a decent amount.
Yeah, yeah, that's true.
Now, the number 8 team for me is the number 5 team for the AP rankings, and that's Texas A&M.
A&M. Yep,
Yeah,
me too.
and
Look
if
at us being on the same page.
and if anybody knows anything about me, I'm not a
This guy
believer in
hates his
A&M.
team.
It's not even just the actual team. It's they haven't done anything to prove
Oh,
something
you
to
hate them.
me. What have they done to prove to you that they should be right here? Name
Hey, they beat up on a bunch of D2
beat up in
private schools.
quotations, right? Because like Vanderbilt, it was beat up by beating them by five
Yeah,
points last year.
yeah.
They don't sell me ever. They lost Kellen Mond. They tried to push to make the playoffs and they lost the game by 35 last year to Alabama. Like, how are you supposed to be a top 4 team in the country and can't compete? I get Alabama was really good, but
A
the
lot of
push
top
they
four
have.
teams in the country have been blown out by Alabama. You're a Buckeyes fan, Paul. You should know that.
Okay, we didn't get blown out as bad, but the case for A&M is okay compared to Ohio State. Ohio State will at least have marquee wins here and there against some other good ranked teams. I don't find that out of A&M.
No, I
They
agree
beat
with you
bad
that
teams
Texas
and then get
A&M is an
rewarded for
overrated
it.
team.
Very,
I agree
very
with you
overrated.
that A&M's overrated, but I also don't think that saying they lost to Alabama by 35 is a hit on them because every team in the country has the potential to lose to Alabama by 35.
That's fair. It's more of the okay. Let me say this: they sell me more on the lack of wins more than their big losses. Put it that way. So I'm just not a believer in A&M until they prove me wrong. I want to see them beat one of these top teams before. And moving on to
Yeah,
number
and to
7,
your point, when they play a team like Citadel, they should win by 40
that's my
if
point.
they're going to
Yeah,
be
they
a top
should.
5 team.
They should. Yeah, but they're getting rewarded for it when teams like
Absolutely,
a little
yeah.
bit farther are doing the exact same thing. So, moving on to number 7, I think you'll have a little discrepancy here. I agree with the AP poll, and I went ahead and put Cincinnati here.
Oh, yeah, I'm a Bearcats fan, but I'm also realistic, and I don't want to sound dumb, so I also put the Bearcats at 7. I had a hard time putting the Bearcats over Clemson, just because I mean historically that's just wrong, you know.
Yeah.
Like it's too early
Nate, do
in the
you
season
have
to
the
just
chat, the
completely.
Twitch chat up? Because we got some commenters in here. Smiley603, Georgia is cheeks, Clemson is washed nowadays, and Jeff Clifton, Georgia's offense won't get them to the playoffs. So we're going to get to that here in a
Let's
couple
go.
minutes. But the only thing that struggled with me is I wanted to put Cincinnati over Notre Dame so bad after the game Sunday night and even push them over Clemson, but they just played Miami, Ohio, and that's not really a good telltale sign. I mean, if this is Texas A&M, then the committee
Yeah.
probably would have bumped them up to number 1 for beating Miami, Ohio, but this is Cincinnati here. So we're going to have to wait to see, and I do think the telltale game for the last playoff spot will be my number 6 versus number 7 right now in Notre Dame versus Cincinnati.
Yeah. I had Clemson at 6, Notre Dame at 5.
Okay, so I had Notre Dame at 6, Clemson at 5. I'm still not sold on Notre Dame as well. I mean, pitiful performance to say the least. I mean, they escaped Florida State with a win, but that's not necessarily that impressive when you're supposed to be a team like this. You know, Mackenzie Milton definitely showed out, but this is a constant for them. Like, this isn't just I'm blowing out teams and then I have one random close game. Like, you see this out of Notre Dame year after year, and I give them props for playing such a tough schedule, but at some point, like, look what they've done in the playoff. They haven't won a playoff game. They haven't proved that they belong there. Do you see what I mean, Nate? Did I lose you, Nate? I'm gonna I'm gonna keep going to try to carry the
Can you
weight.
hear me?
Now I can. Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm
Could
sorry.
could you hear me the whole
Um,
time I was talking or no?
yeah, 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 yeah. I definitely see where you're coming from. Clemson, man, they just looked bad.
Yeah, Clemson did, and also to route out my 19 through 25, I actually kind of had a because I saw some people were wondering about it. I kind of had a few if favoritism picks, and I kind of had a few Big Ten teams there. I almost wanted to drop Indiana out, but Maryland got a win over West Virginia. I put them in there, and I'm slightly pushing towards as bad as I don't want to see it. Michigan making the top 25. I mean, they look a lot better than they have, but this is just so early in the season that it's kind of that 19 through
Is the Big
25 is
Ten
going
good
to
again,
change.
Paul?
Is the Big Ten good again? I think it is. But then again, it's still too early to tell. So don't book me on it. But I think that there's a chance that the Big Ten is actually competing here. If you look up and down the rankings, I mean, the main team, the catalyst of this whole thing for the Big Ten is going to be that Penn State. If they're actually as good as advertised, because if you look at the
Yeah,
SEC, they got Alabama, Georgia, A&M all in the top 10, and then Florida right outside, and Ohio State will need some more help there
Florida
to kind
Florida
of
will be a top
solidify it.
10 team, I think.
I think Florida has the potential. They really got to pick it up over, the losing Trask. But I have Clemson at number 5, and we're going to talk about Clemson in our next segment. I mean, AP poll dropped them to 6 behind Texas A&M, and no way in my mind has Texas A&M proved to me they're a better team than Clemson. But Clemson, this does not look like the same Clemson team to me.
No, Clemson stinks, man. I'm telling you, I think they're gonna stink.
Really, that's kind of bold.
Uh,
Clemson
I
stinks.
think they're gonna stink, man. For a Clemson team, it's gonna be a crappy Clemson team. Obviously, they're gonna win the ACC, but I think it comes with 3 losses.
Wow. ACC is down. Ole Miss gonna finish top 10 and beat Bama. That's probably the hottest take you could really make, Smiley. But well, I guess we'll have to see. And my top 4, I agree. I'm a Buckeyes fan. I agree with the AP poll going Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Oklahoma.
I
Oklahoma
don't.
was the weakest one out of the 4 here, definitely for me. I'll let you go ahead and get into yours here more than me, Nate, because you kind of had more controversy. So Oklahoma, a
Yeah.
weak
So
Tulane win didn't sell me. Spencer Rattler's got to play better than that. Ohio State moves up to 3. I think their win, I mean, wasn't as dominant as some people would have hoped, but still not overall a bad win by any means. A freshman quarterback on the road, but Georgia has the best win in the country as of right now. So I don't think there's a way to drop them, and Alabama still looks like the clear-cut best team in the country. So I'm going to go ahead with my top 4 right there, and I know Nate has his a little bit different, so I'm going to let him take over. But I got a couple of comments on here. Hey, Paul, how's it going, Carlos? Thanks for stopping by. Coach Fancher says Michigan is beating OSU this year. Ah.
he's wrong.
So Nate, go ahead and
But
state who you're a
anyway,
fan of first.
my number 1 is obviously Alabama. Their backups would start for every team in the country. Number 2, this hurts, man. As much as I love to give Paul crap and dog on him, I really think Ohio State's the second best team in the country.
So you already
Um,
have Ohio State number 2. Alpha Isaac, Cincy, Oklahoma. I think that could be the legit real deal. I just think they got to have a couple more games to prove it. They beat Notre Dame, I think so.
I think C.J. Stroud bought out for Ohio State. They put up 45 points on the road in a conference win, and this is C.J. Stroud's not only first game in college, first game with a full stadium back at a college that is not easy to go and put up 45 points, and only turn the ball over on a ball that arguably wasn't your fault. Um, that's a good team. I really think Ohio State's good. They're only going to get better. Ryan Day hasn't had a bad quarterback yet. Um,
So
number
you're,
3,
yeah, I was gonna say number 3. You have Georgia.
I have Oklahoma.
Oh wow. So Georgia beats Clemson and you drop them, or no, you
Yeah,
got them
yeah.
staying, I guess. Okay,
No, they
explain.
dropped. Was Georgia 4 or were
So
they
let me
3?
just get your rankings out here. Your number 1's Bama, 2's Ohio State, 3's Oklahoma, 4 is Georgia.
Yeah, and here's
Okay.
why. I think the only thing that we learned from the Clemson and Georgia game is that both of those teams stink on offense.
I
Um,
also actually agree with you on that take. I think Ole Miss is cheeks. Yes, I do. Smiley. But I think what a lot of people are trying to take away is how good of a defensive game this is, and I really, from watching it, that all that thing that sold me is these offenses are horrible
yeah, they're
right now.
bad,
And
man.
the thing
They're
for
bad.
me is Georgia has an excuse. Clemson doesn't. Georgia was missing 4
Well,
receivers and the running backs had to play for him,
okay,
but that doesn't sell everything. Clemson
okay, but here's the
is
thing.
not
What are we
that.
used to? What are we used to with Georgia? We're used to underperforming quarterbacks. Jake
Yeah,
Fromm was incredibly underwhelming for as good as he could have been at Georgia.
yeah, yeah.
And that's all we saw in the game against Clemson is just disappointing offense.
Out
And
of
I don't
JT
think that
Daniels, yeah.
changes because that's what we're used to seeing with Georgia. With Oklahoma, we're used to seeing struggles early and Lincoln Riley figuring out how to get a quarterback to throw 60 touchdowns. Like, I just think it's hard to say after that game that Oklahoma isn't better than Georgia.
I mean, Oklahoma kind of played Tulane and Georgia played Clemson, so that's kind of a little bit different there.
I
But
get that, but what I'm saying is that Clemson team didn't look like a good football team. That
I
Georgia
agree.
team didn't look like a good football team. Spencer Rattler, other than the 2 picks, looked like a good football player.
Yeah, that's
Oklahoma
fair.
looked like a good football team on offense. They never look good on defense. We all know that. But on offense, they looked like a good football team.
Yeah, well, here's the struggle with us doing the show in week 2 and not week 12. We won't know if how good of a win that is for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
We're just banking off the reputation of Clemson and Georgia that is a top 5 matchup. Uh, I'm
And
currently my
and that's
rankings are
what I would
asking to
rather
sit where
give
they are,
credit.
but I'm not sold that those two will either one will make the playoff right now.
I would rather give credit to what I've seen this year. You know, all I've seen this year is Clemson and Georgia both look like they stink at football.
Well, especially offensively, and that's going to lead us into our next topic, which is our major topic for the podcast today, our next segment. How worried should Clemson be? After Clemson scored their lowest point total since 2007 on Saturday against Georgia.
They didn't score a touchdown, did they?
No, they scored 3 points.
Yeah, yeah,
Ten,
yeah.
ten,
That's good,
10 to
isn't it?
3
That's good
final.
offense. Doesn't that sound like a really good offense?
Well, here's the thing for me. I think for Clemson, the answer is you should be very worried because as much as when you look at these top schools in college football, the Alabamas, Ohio States, Oklahomas, right? When an old quarterback goes and the new one comes in, you don't see a lot of drop off. I don't think DJ is Trevor Lawrence. Put it that way.
No,
Trevor Lawrence
He's not that
was not
guy.
even playing the best defense in the country. Isn't only scoring 3 points. Their offense looked horrific, and I'm not even blaming it on that. I just think that it might be a drop-off year for them, and I'm not saying that they dropped to 8 wins or
Yeah,
something that
it's
far.
just
I'm just
this
saying that
just
they're not.
isn't the
They
Clemson
didn't. Yeah,
team anymore.
that's
It
what I mean.
has Trevor Lawrence throwing to T. Higgins. Like this just isn't
And
this.
with
That's not
ETN
this
in the
team anymore.
backfield, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's not this Clemson anymore.
so
It's a
how worrisome
rebuilding
is that for
class.
you, though, Nate? You got to think, even with Lawrence and ETN, they ended up getting blown out last year in the playoff, and I think they're taking a step back where it's only going to get worse for
Yeah,
them.
yeah. So why should I think that that's the best win in the country for Georgia when we've seen that even with Trevor Lawrence and ETN and T. Higgins, they still get blown out.
Well,
So
here's
now you're
why.
telling
Because
me that
it's
Georgia
because
can
it's
only
week
beat them
2.
10 to
That's
3.
why. Because that was week 1. That's why.
Georgia can
And
only beat them 10 to 3, and you're telling me that they're the second best team in the country. Like I don't buy it.
that's fair. I mean, that's a fair point. I mean, we could look back at this in 10 weeks, and this game could have been irrelevant. But the I'm gonna go ahead and chop it up and give Clemson the benefit of the doubt because they've been good for the last 10 years. But I will say this: I think that they will be a good football team. I don't think they're gonna be great. I don't think that they're gonna be a playoff. If they make the playoff, I think they get blown out. But I'm
I
not
just
sold on DJ yet.
DJ's not that guy. He's got 5 picks and 3 starts. He knew 2 years ago that Saturday was going to be his first start with Clemson and as his football team. He knew that 2 years ago that was going to be on that day against that team, and he played like that.
And then they're going to be like, oh, you can't blame him with his O-line. I've seen quarterbacks come and go through college that have, maybe a struggling O-line but ends up doing better. But three
And
points is
another thing,
pitiful out of Clemson. You're not the Clemson
another
Tigers
thing
scoring 3 points.
that Clemson I think has to worry about, and Clemson fans have to worry about, is they could win out, and that very easily could not be enough to make the playoffs because ACC it's impossible for them to have a good win at this point.
I agree because North Carolina lost to Virginia Tech over the weekend. Like, that's supposed to
It's
be your bread
impossible
and
for
butter
them to have a
second
good
best team.
win,
How about them
but you have
Highlanders? How about the Mount St. Joe Lions? Guess they're clowns. But when you're the Clemson Tigers and you play you got to think about it like this. What kind of reputation are you trying to build? I mean, you're trying to step in the Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence shoes. You know what I mean? And those are big shoes to fill. I'm
I don't
not
want to
saying they're
step into
not.
Deshaun Watson's shoes.
Okay, well, let's not. Okay, wow. But so here's what I'm gonna say. If you're Clemson, you should be worried, but you shouldn't be worried about your conference. I think you're still the best team in the ACC, but
Yeah, they
that's because
shouldn't
the
be worried about
ACC
their
sucks.
conference.
That's Nate's
What,
tag.
what I'm trying to get at with them is they could win their conference, right? But there's just I don't see a way where that's enough to get them into the playoffs because you got teams like Notre Dame and Cincinnati playing against each other, teams like Ohio State and Oregon playing against each other, and Clemson is playing Georgia Tech.
Well, here's the deal. I don't think the committee leaves out a one loss Big Five
You
or
don't you
Power
don't think
Five
you don't
champ.
think that you don't think the committee takes a one loss Clemson with no good win over an undefeated Notre Dame or an undefeated Cincinnati with a win over the opposing school.
I guess it kind of depends on what the other spot looks like, but I mean, I think that Clemson's probably going to get in off reputation if they don't lose again. But I think they have. This is the biggest year that they have upset potential. To lose to a team that they shouldn't. But even if they do, just barely skate by and get in the playoff, this team's going to get blown out by Alabama. Like they if you watched a little bit of the game on Saturday, you could see this offense was horrific. And even if it is, oh, he had a bad O line, fine, fault DJ for that. But guess what? That same O line got bullied in the playoff last year and got absolutely bullied in the first game against Georgia. What's going to make you think that they're not going to just get bullied again by a top D line?
Yeah, I mean, I have no faith in Clemson.
So, moving on from Clemson, we're going to go to Heisman hopefuls. So, the AP most likely Heisman candidate for each top five team is in order: Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler, DJ. I don't even want to say his last name from Clemson, Chris Olave, and JT Daniels. And I don't think that that's a bad list. I moved
I think
DJ at one
JT
spot.
Daniels on there is so funny.
I don't have JT Daniels on my list. So my list, I have Bryce Young, Spencer Rattler, uh, Spencer Rattler, and then I still put DJ there. I think he has a chance. I kept Olave there because he had 150 yards and two touchdowns on last Thursday night. So like it's kind of hard to take him off. I don't have JT Daniels. I have Brees Hall, the running back from UCLA.
Got Bryce Young. I think everybody who watches any college football agree with that. I have Rattler at 2. And based off what we saw week 1, Rattler at 2, I'm showing a lot of confidence in him as a player. I'm really high on him. I think he's going to be good. He's got to play better, though.
Yeah.
3, I have C.J. Stroud. He played out of his mind.
That's fair. That's fair. I just felt it was a little early, but I would take C.J. Stroud and starting his second game in college over J.T. Daniels playing his fifth year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not trusting a quarterback that sat behind Jake Fromm, and I just it was just so underwhelming, and what we saw this weekend was so underwhelming. Like, it's just going to continue. Georgia better hope their defense is good all year.
Okay, and who's your fourth spot?
My 4th spot, Desmond Ritter threw for 300 yards, 3 tutties, and got benched. So,
So your fourth
it's a
spot's
good day.
Desmond Ritter. That's
Good
fair.
day at the office for Desmond Ritter. I think if UC is a playoff team, Desmond Ritter has to be a Heisman candidate. I think that's the only way that they get there is if he plays at that level because we know the defense. We know they're going to ball out every week. He's just got to put up the points for him.
Yeah.
And if he doesn't turn the ball over, it's going to be hard to keep a Heisman Trophy out of his hands with what he brings on his legs. I mean, he's bringing 120, 150 rushing yards a game, sometimes when the Bearcats have the lead, which
Yeah.
is frequently. So, I mean, he's just so He's going to be playing on Sunday, definitely, with the way the NFL is trending.
And who's your fifth spot?
Then fifth, old Maryland quarterback Taulia Tagovailoa balled
Really?
out this weekend.
Wow. That's
Absolutely
bold. The
balled
transfer, huh?
out this weekend.
He did
Alabama
ball.
transfers are balling out. Did you see Jerome Ford out there?
For
I mean,
UCJ.
that dude went crazy.
Yeah. I mean, so I got who can make it in that isn't in right now is one of the questions. So who do you think it is that isn't on either any of our lists that could make it in right now? For mine, I think mine would probably be Stroud. Because I think he could replace Olave. I just thought Olave was on the initial rankings, and then he still had a. You can't really ask too much more out of a receiver than last Thursday night. You know what I mean, Nate?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
usually, CJ, the UC fan who's usually going to be on every episode, he'll tell you he does not like Ohio State, but I think a thing that favors Stroud is he does. CJ said that Ohio State's receiving core is the best in the country. He believes Garrett Wilson's the best receiver in the country. Notre Dame QB, the comment out of C Martini 15. There he is, CJ himself, coming in with a hot take.
Wow. What's up, CJ? Feel better, buddy.
Yeah, you got
Can't wait to
Brian Kelly, Coach of the Year too, don't you, Bob?
execute him.
Wow. I saw that. And
So
then
crazy he said that.
I got most likely to fall off. And my most likely to fall off my list is probably DJ.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more falling off he can do. He's got to be on top of something first. But yeah, I mean, he's gonna stink probably.
So what's his overall record in starts? He started what 2 games last year, 1 this year, and he's 1-2. Can keep it in mind like Trevor Lawrence lost 2 games in college overall.
Yeah,
Justin Fields
he's one
lost.
and two with 5 picks, and we got Clemson like trying to argue that they're a top 5 team. Like it's just not true, and that's not a good win for Georgia. I don't think. I think at the end of the season, it's a good win. Don't mistake me there. It's a good win to beat Clemson at any time, but it's not beating a top 4 team in the country.
That's fair. And then I'm gonna go ahead and look at the game prediction. So I picked out the top 5 games. I think. Who kept so juicy with the Cats by 90 takeout? We like to see that in here on
Absolutely.
fandom. So the top 5 games for this weekend. Number one, the first game to pick is Iowa at Iowa State.
I'm gonna go Iowa. I mean, that defense looked absolutely unreal.
Yeah,
Riley Moss 2 pick sixes. What? Like that
that's
was
tough.
crazy.
You know, I thought I was gonna be the one taking the hot take and taking Iowa, but I don't know if I trust Iowa's offense. That's the only problem. If you think about it, they only scored about 14, 17 points outside of the pick
Scored
sixes.
20 points on offense.
Yeah, against Indiana, which doesn't have the greatest defense, but I think I'm gonna have to lean towards Iowa State since it's at home, just slightly though. But I would not be surprised if Iowa takes this game. Next game, I got South Carolina State at Clemson. Yes, South Carolina State. This was I mean there really wasn't a fifth good game, so that's why this is here because Clemson's coming off a loss. How much they
Clemson's gotta win, dude. I think it's close.
What?
I think
South
Clemson wins
Carolina
a close one.
State.
I think Clemson wins a close one.
Clemson at home. I think Clemson
Dude,
wins
that
this one by
offense
60
hasn't looked.
points.
That offense hasn't been able to get going. Like he just turns the ball over so much.
So this is a kind of a good game here. Washington at Michigan. That's an interesting game. That's an interesting game. Washington just got upset week 1 and they dropped out of the rankings.
Michigan wins to go to like 22-23 next week.
You think Michigan wins? I'm kind of feeling a Michigan win too. I think it's close though. I feel like this is going to be a low scoring game. It's probably a 17-14 type deal. But I mean, I could be way off on that, but I feel like they actually do sneak away with that win. So another interesting game here. Utah at BYU. BYU ended up taking it off Arizona, but BYU was ranked pretty good last year, but losing Zach Wilson, I want to see how
I got
they
Utah.
do
I got Utah at 20 for me. I think I'm gonna stick with them. I think Utah wins.
Utah wins. I thought this was an interesting game for the radar. Um,
BYU gets crazy though, man.
yeah,
Good games. BYU plays good games.
I think
So
I'm gonna take BYU to win here. Close game again, but I think BYU. And then we're gonna keep track. Everybody in the comments, if you guys would like to join the college football pick'em that we do each week, you guys are more than welcome to join our room and go ahead and make your picks and see how you face off
I was
against us.
two
And
and
now
six week one.
I went
Listen
six
to
and two.
anything I say.
I went 6-2 week one. I picked and I would have had more, but I had my pick slate. I picked Penn State over Wisconsin. The only
Yeah,
games
I
I got
picked
wrong,
Clemson. That's the last time that ever happened.
I picked Georgia to win. Yeah, so the two games I got wrong was I picked um, LSU to beat UCLA, and that did not happen.
No, no, it did not. Jesus.
Yeah, UCLA is in my rankings pretty good. They're looking pretty good. And then
UCLA 17 for me.
yeah, I mean they're not. They're definitely not as bad as previous years. Well, Iowa State, Clemson, Michigan, Utah. Oh yeah, we didn't pick the last game. Oregon at Ohio State. I have a bet on this game. I got Ohio State winning by a decent margin by about 10 to 14 points. I mean I got
Yeah,
a
we
lot of
talked
faith.
about this earlier. You know how I feel about this game. I think Ohio State wins by a lot of points.
Really. So week 1 I picked Oklahoma and they won. Penn State and they won. I picked Alabama, they won. Oh, that's the other game I got wrong. I picked Indiana to beat Iowa. Definitely got that one way
Yeah,
wrong.
me too.
But the games I got
Look at the
right, I
scores.
picked
Like, oh my
Texas to
gosh.
beat Louisiana, and that happened. And I picked Maryland to beat West Virginia. And then I picked Texas Tech to beat Houston,
Hey, don't
Georgia,
sleep on Taulia.
and then that's it. But we're all ready and set to win for the next week. If anybody wants to join the pick'em, we got a couple predictions in the chat. We got Coach Fancher coming in with the Iowa State beats Iowa, Clemson gets back on track, Michigan wins over Washington, Utah takes one over BYU, and then Ohio State over Oregon. And then got a couple more predictions here from Wolfie and Crump. Buckeyes by 1,000, and then Bucks by 21. They're playing the number 12 team in the country, according to the AP. Top 10, according in my rankings.
To
That's
us.
yeah. So that's
Oregon is a top 10 team
so
right now. They
it's
won't be
still
after this week.
early, but there's definitely more games we could go through. Um, but I think you're almost in panic mode if you're Clemson at this point. Scoring 3 points is just so
That was your
okay.
only chance at a good win, man. That's your only
You
chance to
know what
like
I
have an
saw?
argument.
I saw um, Nate, as I was scrolling through Facebook and I saw people comparing these to. You remember for the past few years, Ohio State would get upset.
Yeah, to like Pittsburgh.
They lost to Purdue and they lost to Iowa back-to-back years and that.
Yeah,
I
just
I don't
go
think
like
it
start like 9 and
compares
0,
though.
lose to an unranked team.
But here's the comparison. They lost 55 to 38. Like they're scoring a lot of
Yeah,
points. Clemson didn't score. And you can say, oh well, Georgia's
no.
a lot different from them. Getting upset like that is a lot different than their offense was horrible. And if you're like, oh well, their O line did bad, well guess what? That means that their O line's gonna be exposed for everybody, not just Georgia.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like they're saying, oh, their O line was bad. Oh, so they're just gonna be Anthony Munoz and Quinn Nelson on the line next week, huh?
Like, I mean, maybe against South Carolina State, but I mean, outside of that, I really think you're hitting panic mode, and I don't think you're hitting panic mode for your conference. I think you're hitting panic mode for the teams you face in the playoff. Not a lot of great games on the slate this early in the
Do you
season,
really
but
still think Clemson gets to the playoffs?
right now, yes. So we can book that from our first show. I think
Interesting.
Clemson
Yeah,
still
clip
makes the
that.
playoffs.
Clip that.
And you also, I got a couple hot takes out of you on this one.
Yeah, yeah, I've slaughtered them. So if they're good, I'll eat my words.
Wow. So that was a pretty good first show. Go back through just to highlight a couple things. Our rankings were in here. So we're going to have some teams on the upward trend and the downward trend coming next week. So expect our show to come on every Monday night. It should be live on. We could just keep on doing it on Twitch, man. To be honest. and then I could just upload
Yeah,
it to YouTube from there. Makes it a lot easier.
yeah,
So we're
yeah.
live
We
on
can
Twitch. So I got the
put
comments up.
stuff, put it on YouTube.
Hold up, DJ has only turned the ball over once, just saying he bounces back. Uh, I don't know, man. I'm just not a
What did it say?
huge DJ fan. Hold up, DJ has only turned the ball over once, just saying he bounces back.
He's got 5 picks and 3 starts.
Maybe turn the ball over once this
That's
year.
not a good.
So the biggest thing to go by for these games this weekend, take care of business. That's what I'm gonna say. That's the
Hey,
biggest
that's
thing.
what the Cats did. That's what the Cats did. Miami comes to town,
Take care of it.
pound them into the dirt. That's what a
Alabama's
good
gonna
team
take care
does.
of business more than likely. These other schools are playing teams that they should roll over, so that's what you should expect them to do. Oklahoma
A&M
and
won't.
Clemson are the two teams that need the biggest bounce back. There's a lot of
Who's
unimpressive games for week one.
who's A&M play this weekend?
A&M plays Texas A&M. They even on here? Western Carolina plays Oklahoma. They should win that. Wisconsin, Eastern Michigan. They should win that. I I don't even see. Oh, Alabama's got a tough one with Mercer this week. So Texas A&M. Okay, that should have been one that made my list. Texas A&M at Colorado. Ooh,
Oh, you think that's probably what 3-point game?
that's ooh. Does Colorado have enough to upset them though?
Oh, I'm tired of hearing you bark about Texas A&M being a top 10 team.
I wish they were unranked, but that's besides the point. Looking at his stats, he has
uh,
one pick in 3 games.
CJ still in here?
I don't know if he is.
Still listening?
So let's
Oh,
talk about
anyway,
this game. Murray State goes play Cincinnati. Cincinnati should roll. Rutgers at
if we don't win by
Syracuse.
50.
Florida and South Florida is kind of a little interesting, but Florida should roll. Tulsa, Oklahoma
What's up
State
with
should be
Florida
interesting.
only playing Florida teams this year?
How about Miami, Ohio, after playing UC, is playing Minnesota this week?
Jeez.
Pittsburgh at Tennessee. I think Pittsburgh walks away with that win, actually.
Really?
Yeah,
Not high
I
on
do.
Tennessee this year?
Not high on Tennessee since Manning left, brother.
I mean, Tennessee fans are real high on Tennessee right now.
Yeah, and that's why I'm not sold. I'm not even trying to hate. Wow, that Texas A&M at Colorado game really kind of sparks my interest a little bit.
Yeah, I hope
Oh,
that,
don't
dude.
worry.
I hope Texas.
Penn
I hope Texas
State.
A&M wins by like 2 points and like moves up a spot.
Oh, you would. Penn State takes on Ball State this week. uh, that's a great game. Air Force and Navy, kind of, you know. Why am I getting South Alabama versus Bowling Green? Who's watching that? 1 day scholarship to UC, then back to Mount St. Joe. There you go. Looking up and down the list, there really isn't really good games. Western Carolina plays Oklahoma. Like that's you need a bounce back. Texas at Arkansas. So this is a preview of Texas going to the SEC here within the next 2 years. I think Maryland moves to 2-0 this week. They're playing Howard.
Aaliyah
Hmm.
back live tomorrow night.
Back live tomorrow night, so we will have another
I don't
show
know
tomorrow
how.
for the NFL. Uh, I mean, I'm more welcome to. Oh wait, Saturday at 10:30, we got Stanford at USC. Stanford did not look too hot.
USC need to win.
USC actually looked pretty good. I'm pretty sure in their first game.
If USC gets a big win, I mean, now you're talking about potentially another team cracking close to the top 10 with an Oregon loss.
Yeah, you are. I mean, looking at their
Because you're going to
schedule,
have an.
they got their
Think
best
about it. If
team. They're playing Notre Dame
Iowa
this
State
year.
wins, you have probably. Or USC wins, you have either Iowa State or Iowa that's going to lose, and Oregon that's going to lose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got USC. If they win, they're cracking, 11-12 probably.
Yeah, USC has the schedule to move up to. I mean, they have a big game against UCLA down the line. They play BYU, they play Notre Dame, they play Colorado, they play Utah. I mean, they don't. Stanford definitely
Yeah, that's a
falls
hard
off, but
schedule.
I mean, they got a chance to do it.
Have you talked to CJ today? How's he feeling?
How is
He gonna
CJ
be
feeling?
up for tomorrow?
I don't know. I hope he is, but
Hopefully.
tomorrow we're going to be back on for the NFL side, which is more of Nate's going to be running the show. But I mean, he's going to be running the segments. College is more my strong suit. For me,
The
I like
Bengals are
college
winning
more.
the Super Bowl though, but we'll get into that tomorrow night.
Let's just give him a little taste. You got he's got the Bengals making the playoffs in a wild card spot.
I do. I do. As of right now. But
That's so
like I
bold.
said, we'll get into that tomorrow night. Hopefully we got CJ with us.
Hopefully,
If we had CJ in here tonight, man, he would have torn me apart.
yeah, he definitely would have. And he's probably gonna tear me apart anyway. But when we were talking about who's a fan of who I was gonna be like, and then you got CJ, the Cincinnati, Oklahoma, and closet Alabama fan. So
Oh man! But thanks everybody for coming in and watching and or listening and
however
interacting
you
with
were
us.
around, yeah. So Nate, thank you, and we will see you guys tomorrow night.